people already knew the type of person I was, right? It's kind of like if you say you're going to do something and everybody already know you're going to do it, it's kind of hard not to believe it because you've been shooting 100, right? You've been batting 1,000, right? So for me, it was one of the things is every time I put my mind into it, it was going to go, right? I remember having a conversation after I bought my first property. I was telling one of my homies, I was like, look, I'm about to start buying properties. I didn't think it was going to go like this. I took off crazy in the past year. But it was one of them things is that I knew I was going to be successful. I just didn't know exactly how, just finding that niche, and then I just went off.
So what was that turning point? What made you say real estate rather than anything else? I
don't know, right? Because nobody that I grew up with was doing it.
Right.
I didn't see it.
Really?
It wasn't like I was going up the block and people was like, yo, we buying mad blocks, houses, yo, do it. I'm like, it just made sense. I don't know how I heard it, but it made sense to me. After you own something, you can rent it out, you can pay, and then property value goes up. It just kind of made sense. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which, you know what I mean, I think is the Bible for real estate. Knowing it's not a real estate book, but it's more of a mindset. It's kind of, for us, it's changing your mindset, the way of thinking. So when I started thinking that way of investing the right way and working, I was, you know what I mean, I've been a worker my whole life, a truck driver. And knowing that cannot define me forever, like being a corporate truck driver for the rest of my life was one of them things is that I was like, I can't. This has got to be something else. And real estate was something that I fell in love with. You know what I mean? Like I tell people, some people don't like real estate, they just do it. I love it. I really do.
In high school, how would people have described you, and would they believe that you're doing what you're doing now?
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I went to Camden High, at that time, it's one of the worst, you know what I mean, high schools to go to, public school. The city was bad. The high school public education was bad. And mind you, I didn't make it easier. Barely went to school. Barely went to class. Cut class everywhere. Any time I could. But I was always a nice individual, right? Like I never do people wrong. I believe in that, right? And even to this day, if I see somebody I grew up with, went to high school with, it's always love, just because I know I ain't never disrespect nobody in a bad way or purposely or that. So when people do see me from school, I don't want to say people were like, oh, I knew you was going to be successful, but I don't think they surprised either.
Okay. So when was the first time that you took action to get into real estate investing?
All right, so I remember I applied for a loan, right? So I had my primary home. I already was renting out the house. So I moved, when I was 19, I moved with my wife. I had my oldest daughter, and I bought a house in Camden. I was 19, and I got approved. I had a little warehouse job, and I was going to rent, and I didn't because, you know, it's kind of like the lack of information, especially in the hood, right? That, you got to rent. I thought that's what I had to do. And I just applied for a mortgage, and I got approved.
Wait, why though? I really want to, like, what was in your, because to do something different, usually that information has to reach you somehow. So, like, why do you think you were like, you know what, let me apply for this loan?
Nah, it was like my mom just mentioned it. So my mom she just had moved, and she had a real estate agent. She like, why you just don't try to get a house? And I'm like, because I don't think I can. That's just it's lack of information. We could, right? Yep. I was 19, right? We ain't have no credit yet, but I wasn't going crazy, right? I had a nice little decent job, warehouse job, probably paying $7 an hour. Got approved for a $50,000 house. Bought it. I was had my oldest daughter and my wife, and I moved out of there 10 years. No, I think I lived there like eight years, and I moved, and I kept that house. And I don't even know why it made me keep. I remember just being in the house because I was about to move, and I'm like, I'm not going to sell this house. I'm going to keep it. Just because I just felt it. I don't know. It was like, you know, this real estate guys, y'all understand, it's kind of like something that you can't kind of train, right? Either you could train all types of different parts of the real estate, but the thought of how we look at it is different. So, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep it. And I kept it for 10 years, was rented out. I wasn't probably making like $300 a month. I went to apply for another loan. They denied me like 3 times. And I remember that the last time when I went, they approved me. I felt like I hit the lottery because I knew I was going to take off. I didn't, like I said, I didn't think it was going to be like this. But I when I seen that pre-approval, I called a realtor, and that was it.
Dang.
And I was still working full time. I was working 60 hours a week, and my wife was in school, and I was the only one making money because I was the only one working, and I took a leap, and that was the best thing.
Wow.
Man.
So, going from that first house and that experience that you had, not really making that much money, only getting approved for that $50,000, which was like a springboard for you, right? You keep that house, you're renting it this entire time. What did that teach you as a landlord? You know, over that 8 to 10 years of you renting, like
It didn't really. I mean, I remember putting that extra money on the side. I didn't really do nothing because the house was mine, so it was taken care of. So the tenant that was there was just really didn't need that much. So little small things, which me and my dad would go over there and fix. So, but I always thought if I was making $400 a month or something like that, I'm like, imagine I had 10 of these, right? That's when it clicked. Imagine I had 10 of these things. Imagine if I got 15. That's when it was like, all right, this could be freedom. Right, and then also educating myself with these podcasts, listening to podcasts and audio books, and learning the game was like, oh, this can be it, and then start going, and it's where we at now.